Hi everyone, welcome to Gaming365, and as you can gather from the title, this is my top 14/10 games of E3. Now I say top 14 because there's 4 games that didn't quite make it to my top 10, but I wanted to talk about them anyway because I thought they were okay. Like, if you've seen my impressions video of E3, you'll know that I thought it was pretty lackluster and there wasn't really any great games here at E3 this year, but I felt like I wanted to mention these 4 anyway because the rest of the 10 are just okay, really. There's a couple of great ones in there, but most were just okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with 14 to 11 very quickly. They're in no specific order, to say the least. They are just the games that didn't quite make the 10. So first up is Star Wars Battlefront 2. This turned my head just a little. I didn't like the first Battlefront game, mainly because of the exclusion of the single player campaign. However, that is in this one. They're going to have a single player campaign, which looks pretty damn good. The fact that you can play in quite a few eras across the Star Wars franchise, that also turned my head and got me very interested in this game. The gameplay looks pretty good as well. Next up is Crytek's Hunt Showdown. Now this game interested me because it looked a little bit like Escape from Tarkov, DayZ, with PvP and PvE elements, but also with a supernatural element, which intrigued me and got a little bit more of a turn of the head from me than Star Wars Battlefront 2, just because I prefer the gun gameplay in Crytek's Hunt Showdown over the pew 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 gunplay of Star Wars. But you know, both games very level pegging and look quite interesting. So that brings me on to Monster Hunter World, which intrigued me because the first Monster Hunter games intrigued me as well. I didn't actually play them, but they intrigued me. And this one was quite a bold move. It had downgraded graphics compared to some of the games that we saw, but the gameplay elements looked very, very good. And I think that was a nice little risk that producer slash developer decided to do, was downplay the graphics but make the gameplay really good. So Monster Hunter definitely got a nice little turn of the head from me, especially being it's now fully MMO style, which means you can jump in with your mates, hunt a couple of monsters, and it just felt like a good atmosphere to be in. And the last one in the 14 is, let me check my list, oh yeah, of course, Assassin's Creed Origins. Now this didn't make my top 10 because it is another Assassin's Creed game. However, it got a very big turn of the head from me when I realised it was going back, way back, to the origin in fact, of the Creed, and that interested me a little bit. I was wanting to go back in time as well. I didn't like the more recent renditions of Assassin's Creed when they kept going further and further into near to present day. I wanted to go back into the ancient world, so that really did intrigue me. What also intrigued me was the cleaner HUD, very, very minimal HUD, and also the size of the world that's been created. It's absolutely huge, and I feel like this is going to be a return to form for the Assassin's Creed franchise. So it's definitely in my top 14, didn't quite make it into the top 10, but when we see more of this game, I'm hoping it's going to get there. The one thing that really put me off was the eagle, your little companion that goes around and tags people and searches stuff. I didn't quite like that element of it, but the rest of it looked very, very good, and I'm interested in Assassin's Creed Origins. Okay, boys and girls, on to the nitty gritty, the top 10. And coming in at number 10 is State of Decay 2. Now, I didn't play much of the first one, I must admit. I only played the first half an hour to an hour of the game. Mainly the reason I didn't play it was because of the 30 FPS, which is a little bit of a stupid thing not to play the game for, but it really put me off. I was coming from the PC back to this game on the console. I was doing it on the console for some stupid reason. And it put me off. The 30 FPS put me off, so I didn't really play it. But the second one looks really, really good. They're pushing more on this element of making sure that your team or the people that you found are mentally okay. And that was a good thing from the first one. You had to make sure everyone was going to do their job and going to do it well, or you're going to fail. And you had to bring and think about the psychological elements. And that's something that quite interests me in a game like this, because the zombie apocalypse is pretty detrimentally detrifying. I can't think of the words. But it's not a good thing, and it can really screw someone up. So it's great to see a zombie game that brings that into play. At number 9 is a game that I think is going to be an exclusive for the PlayStation 4, which hurts me a lot, because it's Spider-Man. And my god, does it look like a return to form for Spider-Man games. It just looks sublime. The tricks and things that you can do, the fighting mechanics, flying about the map, webbing about, oh my god, it looks good. I hadn't even seen the film yet, but it looks good, and I think if it is a PlayStation exclusive, please tell me in the comments down below. If it's not, I'm gonna have to get a PS4, or at least borrow someone's to play this game. I really am. It looks amazing, and oh my god, I want to play as Spider-Man again. I haven't done it for so long, and I want to go back and play as Spider-Man, and this is definitely, probably, going to be the game that's going to do that for me. Okay, next up, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. Now, I didn't really play the first game for this. I liked it, but I couldn't get into it. There's so many games that I've purchased and not been able to get into and like the idea of, which again, struggling with the sequels when that happens. But I've got to say, this game looks phenomenal, and I know some people now online that play this game, which makes it even more attractive to me, which is why it's coming in at number 8 and not in the 14 or the 10. It's in at number 8. It's probably on my purchase list for this year, and you've got to look at it. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and it just looks like a really, really fun game to get into and play, with all those big armies coming together and clashing. Yes, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord is on my purchase list for when it comes out. Now, number 7 on my list is on this list because it's a little bit different. The Last Night is a game that looks very, very attractive, but also retro at the same time, and it reminds me of a feeling I got when I watched Blade Runner for the first time. I can't put my finger on why, but it feels like to me a cross between when I watched Blade Runner and when I watched The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. It feels like a mashup to me. I don't know, it might be the colours and the tech and things that you saw in the game, but for some reason it felt like to me the feeling I got of a mashup of those two films, and it just looked really, really interesting and very different. And that is literally why it's on the list, because it looks different, and I'm ready for different, definitely ready for something new, and this looks very interesting indeed. And again, number 6 on the list, Ashen, is on there because again, this game looks different. It looks fun to play in co-op, definitely looks fun to play in co-op, and I think it's on the list because in the last year I've played more and more online games with people that I've met online, and I really want to add this to the list of games that we play. It looks great. The mechanics and the style of gameplay with the lantern and the darkness and these things, it just looks really, really good. And I'm definitely adding this to my purchase list again. I think most of these top 10 will be on there, but curse you, Spider-Man, for being on the PS4. Okay, so as we move into the top 5, I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about the game than I did with the previous 5 and then the 3, the 4 even, at the top of the... How many numbers is that? I can't do math very well. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to talk a bit more about the top 5. So coming in at number 5 is an Xbox One exclusive, believe it or not. I do have an Xbox One, which means I will be able to play this, but it is an online game, and I don't know too many other people that own an Xbox. They mostly own PS4s, god damn them. So, this is Deep Rock Galactic. Now this game reminds me a lot of a game that I'm playing currently on the PC, which is Osiris New Dawn, which you should check out if you haven't already, because it is very, very good. It reminds me of a more casual arcadey version of that game, which personally is actually quite a good thing, because Osiris can be a little bit grindy here and there. It takes a lot of time to do things, and the enemies that run at you are very difficult to kill half the time, and it just needs to be a bit faster paced for me. And this game is very fast paced. It looks fantastic. It's like a cross between Red Faction in terms of the mining and Starship Troopers because of the bugs, and the colours look fantastic as well. And I'm a little bit gutted that this doesn't seem to be one of those Xbox exclusives that's coming out on the PC. So I may, even though I said most of these games on my top 10 are going to be on my purchase list, I may actually have to pass this one by, unless you guys out there play Xbox and you wouldn't mind adding me to your friends list. Okay, so coming in at number 4 is a game that's a little bit difficult to put on this list, mainly because it's not really an E3 reveal. It's been out for a while. It's Kingdom Come Deliverance, as you can see from the little flashy titles and everything that I've put up. And it has been in beta for a good while now, but for E3 they did release a release date trailer. So we have got a few more details when this game is going to be finished, and therefore I've put it on my top 10 because the trailer was pretty damn good. And it showed off a couple of new elements that we've not really seen thus far, including a remodeling of the main character and a couple of other characters in there as well. And it was pretty damn good. And if you've not played this game thus far, I suggest you go and check out some videos on it. Check out a couple of gameplay videos that have recently been released. People have started diving into this beta a lot more at the moment. I think it's because it's nearing release and they've maybe been asked to jump into it. But they're coining it a little bit as a more realistic Skyrim, which I don't think is wholly accurate. I would just say it's a medieval sim, and a very decent one at that. The swordplay and the combat is very, very tricky to get the hang of to start off with. But once you do, it is very, very rewarding, and again, it feels very, very realistic. It's awesome. It's all in first person, which is another bonus of it as well, because it gets you immersed into the game, and the graphics are very sublime as well. So yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance, number 4 on the list. Definitely on the purchase list because I do already have it, and I'm looking forward to this game come February. Right. Okay. Number 3. Metro Exodus. Now, this one has made number 3. And don't get me wrong, it looks like an absolutely gorgeous, fantastic game. It's made it to number 3 because the idea of the game just turns my head completely and I just want to play it now. I love Metro 2033. Last Light was pretty good. And I just love the developers of this series as well. I'm hoping, though, that the game does not play like the trailer did. Because although it says it's actual gameplay footage, it felt very much like it was on rails. I know most of these E3 things do, but this was a little bit disappointing in that respect. It looked like there were elements of the game that wouldn't really happen in the game, and if they do, it feels like quick time events. I don't want that to be a thing. What really gets me excited about this game is the prospect of an open world. I know it's not going to be fully open world, it's going to be more like the Stalker series in those terms, so there's going to be segregated zones, etc. And some bits will be quite linear and not actually that open. But just that expansion of the Metro world really does interest me and excite me. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing more footage of this game soon. I'm hoping they do release something right on the back of E3 here and give us a lot more information about the game. And I think we need it at this point. I personally need it, especially seeing that trailer and feeling like it was on rails. The whole bit with the train coming at the end. That just felt completely like it was, you know, programmed in, press play, there we go. We're going to do this cool little thing at the end. It didn't feel quite like it was actually in the game. That was the main aspect that disappointed me here, but the idea of this game has made its way to number 3. So, we're near the end here at the top 2. And coming in at number 2 is a game from BioWare, Anthem. So this one is a little bit of one of those wow factor games that gets you right from the off. Like Metro Exodus did, but this one is like, what the hell is this game? Like, where has this come from? And it is technically a new IP, though it feels like they've taken a few elements of Vanquish, if anyone's ever seen that game where you wear an exoskeleton suit and you slide around everywhere. It felt a little bit like that in some places. What I didn't like about this trailer, which again is like most E3 trailers, it wasn't that it felt like it was on rails, it was this dialogue between 2 to 4 people playing the game, and they were talking to each other, and it felt the most unnatural thing ever. And to be honest, I now watch the trailer, because I do watch it quite a few times. I watch it without the sound. Just because that was so off-putting, it was unbelievable. But the gameplay, it just looks phenomenal. The graphics look insane. And I'm really hoping it plays the way it looked like it did in the trailer, with the drop-in, drop-out of people. Which I know they can do that. They do it all the time with Ubisoft's Ghost Recon Wildlands. That has really good drop-in, drop-out play. And I'm hoping this game does too. Another thing that interested me about the game from the trailer is that it did seem like a living, breathing world. There was a big bear type thing that attacked at one point, and you could either choose to engage it or not. And it kind of made the feeling that it wasn't quite on rails at that point. It felt like it was being very organic, and I like that aspect of it. I like the fact that there's stuff in there that you don't have to do if you don't want to, or you can wait to a certain point, but it's going to try and get you no matter if you're ready for it or not, and that's quite cool. The whole weather effects and things were cool as well, the whole storm that came in. I didn't quite like the fact that you had such high firepower. That kind of was a little bit off-putting. All these mortars and things killing enemies really quite easily. What I can only hope from that is the people playing it were quite a high level, and it was more for the stage show was the reason why enemies were dealt with so easily. But for me, this looks like a better game than Destiny 2. It really does. I mean, I would play this any day over Destiny. I really like the concept of this game. And also, if you've watched my impressions video, you'll know one of the things I took from E3 this year was that quite a few games had very clean HUDs, and this game is no exception. It felt very clean, very immersive. Things only seem to pop up when you need them. I'm hoping we get the option, keyboard-wise, to turn bits of the HUD on and off on the fly. That would be very nice indeed. I think it's a game that needs that. If you're wearing an exoskeleton suit, you've got a heads-up display with the suit, you should be able to turn the elements on and off if you so wish. And I'm hoping that gets included. I'm very, very interested in seeing more of this game. I'm hoping we see it soon. I'm hoping everyone made it this far to number 1. I'm hoping my rambling, incoherent style for this video has been okay for people and they've been able to watch it. And without further ado, my number 1 is A Way Out.
What's your plan?
Now the reason for this is the reason why a few of the games made it to the top 10 list. It's because it's different. More importantly, it's a massive, massive risk from a gameplay perspective. They are going with a forced split-screen co-op, which is a very interesting idea, but also at the same time it is a massive risk. Because these days, people don't like to play split screen apparently. I still don't mind it. I can play Halo 2 and 3 all day long on split screen. But for some people, or sorry, most people at the moment, split screen is a bit of a hindrance and they don't like it. But this game uses it very, very well. And from what they showed at E3, it looks like one of the most interesting games that I've seen at the show. I mean, just the whole concept was awesome, and I'm not quite sure where they've taken the inspiration from, but it did feel a little bit like Prison Break, but also like the old 80s prison films like Tango and Cash and things, and it reminded me a little bit of, I think it's called Two Brothers, and also Kane and Lynch as well. It had a lot of elements of Kane and Lynch, and though Kane and Lynch did bomb quite badly, it still had quite cool co-op 2-player stuff, and I'm hoping this game emulates that quite nicely. I'm hoping also with this forced split screen perspective that when it's on a console, that is literally the case. You can actually play it split screen on the same console. A lot of games have moved away from doing that, and I'd like to see this come back. I mean, this is probably the main reason it's reached number 1 on my list, is because of split screen gameplay. I'm nearly 30, so I class myself as being near enough an old gamer at this point. So split screen in my time was the thing. Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, first Call of Duties, split screen action with your mates, where you could shout at them for watching your screen and seeing what you're doing, and you're like, what you doing? Over there, that sort of shit. That, oh sorry, I swore up there as well. Never mind. I'm not gonna bleep that out. That is the way I remember games. Split screen action with your mates on the sofa, and I want to see that again. It's one of the reasons why Halo 5 killed the franchise for me. Actually, I think they killed it in Halo 4, didn't they? Why? Why do that? Not everyone has 2 consoles or a mate with a console. Some people want to go round someone's house, open a couple of cans, play a game with each other that's not FIFA, because that's pretty much one of the only games you can do this on other than other sporting games, and just play a game together and enjoy the game together. And I'm hoping that A Way Out does that for us, and it looks really interesting. It's on my purchase list. It's number 1. I'm going to buy this game. I'm going to see for my own eyes the glory of split screen return, and I hope that you guys do too. So that is my top 10/14 games of E3. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm open to talking and discussing about these games a little bit more, and to be honest, there is some good ones on there, but again, the majority of the pack are just okay. I mean, I talked about them like they were the next best thing, but let's face it, they are just okay. We need more from these developers at the moment, and I don't mean to be harsh. If you are a developer, I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm putting you down and putting your job down. It's probably not the developer's fault. It's probably the company as a whole trying to push things out the door as quickly as possible and make money, and that is the way the world works. And unfortunately, it's going to hit and hinder quite a few things, not just games. Films, TV, those sorts of things get hit as well by this need to make money. It's a business thing, and unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. So some good things on the list, 1 or 2 great things, but the majority of the pack, okay. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.